Okay.
Started, and my recorder's a backup.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Public Hearing and Leadership Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. My name is Rich Reynoso, Vice Chair. I'm going to go to my right for introductions.
Jeanette Wilson, Board Member.
Harry Santillo, Sergeant at Arms.
Cynthia Rodriguez, Chair of the Board.
Oral Southbridge, Land Use Co-Chair.
Sandra Unger, Chair of Health and Social Services.
Veronica Castro, Treasurer.
David Koala, Co-Chair Parks.
Juan Luciano, Economic Development Co-Chair.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. For the conduct statement, please read that on your own. Please don't disrupt this meeting. We will kick you out. All right. So why are we meeting in the summer? Rarity, we barely do this, but we have a public hearing. We voted last month and we said, no, let's make it right. So we're holding a public hearing on the St. Raymond Avenue demapping. I'm gonna read all this. Prior to the start of the hearing, each member of the public wishing to speak shall submit to the chairperson in writing on a form provided by the board a request for speaking time. Such request shall set forth the speaker's name, the name of the organization which the individual may represent, and whether the individual favors or opposes the proposition which is the subject of the hearing. Those opposed to the proposition shall be heard first, and those in favor shall follow. The chairperson shall call only the names of those who submitted requests for speaking time. Each member of the public shall be entitled to speak for an amount of time predetermined by the chairperson. Any written statement or document offered by a speaker shall be placed into the record or minutes of the hearing. With that said, do we have any speakers?
I had registered.
You registered, so I'm assuming Jeremy got that list.
Before we hear from the speakers, I just wanted to clarify something in terms of public notice. Jeremy, did you wanna just clarify that point?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, Debbie signed up expecting Janice to be here, so she didn't, even though she's a member of the committee. That explains Debbie why she signed up. She was not going to. It was Janice that was going to be representing Parks tonight, right, Debbie?
Correct.
Okay. First thing. Second thing is, so we did get a complaint about the publication of the city record was not done until Monday. We did not select this date until Tuesday of last week. There was an issue with, and we didn't confirm leadership until that Wednesday, or I think that's Tuesday, Wednesday, 7th and the 8th. I don't know, whatever days those are to be exact, but either way, the portal to submit to the city record was down. So on the 8th, DCAS, which is in charge of the city record, had me email them the information. But that's the soonest they could publish it was the 14th. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's very good over here.
Thank you, Jeremy.
And we're required to publish with the city record, which is the city of New York's daily publication.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So you're the only speaker?
Am I the only one registered to speak?
So I was having a problem checking my Outlook. Let me see if it's working now. But last I checked, okay, I do see somebody just registered. But yeah, I mean, Debbie's the first.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're on the board, can you turn on your cameras, please?
Maybe someone took over.
Well, the only people that count towards quorum is Wendy, Stacy Ann. So you're clear on that.
No, not on.
Because he's not on
Don't
the.
give me her.
Oh, he's a regular man.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 minutes, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, okay. You ready?
So, floor is yours.
It's up to you. It's a predetermined
I think 2 is fine.
time of the chair.
You can ask for more if they want.
You ready? Go.
I oppose the St. Raymond's Avenue demapping because the applicant has not demonstrated that they have the best interests of the community at heart, and we are currently operating in violation of the law. I frequently pass by this location and even went on a dedicated site visit yesterday where I observed the misuse of the current roadway, that the applicant has completely obstructed access to the property without any clear permitting from Department of Buildings or Department of Transportation. You can also see visible ponding and how degrading the sidewalk has become. It has been that way for at least 18 years. It is not right for us to allow private entities to commandeer and erode public space and then reward them with the ability to make a profit off that land. If the applicant cannot make the effort to comply with the city regulations currently, how can we expect for them to do so going forward?
Yeah, there's all the
And that's all from Google Maps.
Yeah.
Does the applicant have I'm sorry, does the applicant have an opportunity to respond?
Yeah, hold on, 1 second.
Sure.
How big is this place?
A block.
The block.
Whole block, city block?
No,
No, it's like a little.
the width of a typical
Instead
street.
of a block.
It's like what, 100 by 100, 300 by 300? I'm
Instead of
just saying.
block. I said a block. Instead of block.
It's not a full block, but the width of it is the size of a block. That's what she's saying. The regular width of the street.
And the depths, I can't see into, but it's a good, it's a good
Is
depth.
it a busy traffic thing?
No, it's a DMAP street.
No, they
That's
want to
not-
demap
That's what
it.
they wanna do.
Yeah, they want to DMAP the street, yeah, but it's not being, is it being used right now?
It's been used for the
Hold on,
past
hold on,
18 years.
Hold on. So you went.
That first photo
No, I
is
know,
yes,
I know,
that is
but
taken
I know.
yesterday.
But I think let them respond, right, to your comment? Okay, so,
Can we all, do you understand, Oral, what the accusation is? The accusation is that they already,
Using the area.
appropriated the street.
so let's
Right.
pin a pin in that, so let's have him answer her, and then we could do a
That's not what I was
conversation.
asking though.
Hold on, give me a second. Go ahead, applicant.
Thank you. So Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel for Blondell Corp. I've got Joe Galito Jr. here, who's the applicant, and I'm happy to respond, and then Joe can add in some color. I would just note several things. First of all, they've got 4 lots here. The joining of this lot, this 5,000 square foot lot currently, which is in the bed of a map street, would allow them to have one contiguous property. And despite what the comments are, I'd say it's quite to the contrary. When you take a look at the DOB records for these 4 properties, there's a total of 0 violations that are open on these properties. So the first thing, the discussion about the fact as to whether or not they're compliant, I think we would take issue with that. I think Joe and his partner Steve trying to operate the property in a productive way. And so, you take a look at the public record and it's just, the evidence isn't there. I'd also add that in the past, there were roughly 4 demappings of streets in the same area for the same street width, both to the north and south of the site. The most recent of which, Ponton Avenue and McAlpin Avenue, were approved by the community board 28-1 and 27-0. So I would just, if Joe wants to unmute and discuss for a moment his operation of the site, which dates back over 20 years, then, we'd be happy to answer any specific questions.
Yeah, no, Richard pretty much summed it up. It's a street that leads to nowhere. We own both sides of the street, so we're essentially just demapping a street that leads to nowhere other than the train yard.
Right. Are you allowed to do that, to put a fence before you demap? I think that's for Mr. Lobel. Is that normal? Is that something that
Sure.
is?
So, when Joe discusses this site, he talks about the history of the site, the fact that, even prior to the time where he's owned the site, he's familiar with the site from growing up nearby. And I think the fencing in the area has been up for some time. So, there's no active violations basically associated with their use of the site. And from what Joe's told me, it's been like this for 20 years. And the reason they're doing this right now is to basically, ask the city whether or not they're able to purchase this. This application does not even give them control of the site. It merely demaps the site, only 5,000 square feet of which would be available to them. The remaining 29,500 square feet is within the train yard. So even after they go through this demapping application, the city would then have to engage in a transaction with Joe and Steve in order to sell them the property. So the bottom line is, Joe, can you just talk a little bit about the history of that piece?
That's correct. When we purchased the technically two different lots on both sides of the street, there was fenced in already.
Got it.
So we had purchased it and it was fenced in. That street has been closed we bought it in 2001, I believe, and it was closed well before that.
Who put it? Thanks.
So I heard the question. So who put up the fence is a question.
That's it.
The prior owners had a fence up before we had purchased it back in 2001. So that's been up for.
So you bought it with the fence up already?
Correct.
And
But
just
that
to, wait,
Hold on, you have to-
just to, because the speaker, as you both heard, said that she has a concern that if you are not able, you're not following the rules now, you won't follow the rules then. If you purchase the area, what rule is there for you to follow? Like what is it you have to do? If you just own the lot, right?
No, that's not how it works.
That's it.
I'm sorry? If you buy
No,
the
so-
street, essentially, right? Do you just own it and do whatever you need to do with the street, or do you have to follow any other regulations? What happens next?
So I think the question is this, we demap it, you go to the city and you buy it.
Right.
Do you then follow all the regulations?
What regulations are there, or
Yeah,
is
correct.
this your property?
It would be whatever regulations there are that just guide property ownership generally in the city. So right now, as city-owned property, Joe and Steve are, basically they're adjacent to the parcel. They have the most active preference to that lot, but they don't own it. Once it was within their possession, they would have contiguous parcels. They'd have 5 contiguous parcels. And to the extent that they just operated on a going forward basis, they'd be subject to every other, city regulation in terms of, keeping the lot clean and keeping the lot, keeping it free from any nuisance or anything like that. So right now, there's no requirement in that regard. But, I would go to the fact that, I did look, dig into the DOB history here. And for the 4 lots that they've owned for over 20 years, there was 0 open violations. There was 1 construction violation that was issued in 1980, which, probably wasn't closed properly, but that's basically it. So I actually think, just that they've actually been pretty good about that. And on a going forward basis, if they did own the lot, they would be subject to all city regulations in terms of keeping it in good order.
I got a question. How would it affect the community if they demap that?
Well, I want
Hold on, let me asking.
I'm sorry, how would it affect the community?
If they demap it, yeah, and you buy the
Sure.
land, whatever.
Sure. So, so right now, it's a street which hasn't been open, has never been open. The property's been zoned M11 since 1961. 475 feet lies within the train yard, which would really prevent it from being opened. In addition to which, on the southern portion of that street, there's a grade change which really prevents it from being a through lot. Department of Transportation has no present intention of opening that lot. So the only thing that I could say is, to the extent that it was opened, you'd go from having a, 3,000 square foot lot, 5,000 square foot city lot, and 10,000 square feet of their lot, to having one contiguous 17,500/18,000 square foot lot. So to the extent that they, were able to put a business there, et cetera, right now, separating out those lots prevents them from doing a contiguous use. Whereas once they owned it, they'd be able to, potentially put up something, use it for some contiguous purpose, but right now they can't.
So that land is fenced off right now as we speak?
Yeah, that's a picture.
So what are we talking about? It's been
Right,
fenced
so
since 18.
So to have a follow-up, right? So go ahead. Yes,
Thank you.
Yes. Hold on, let her go, she's waiting.
Let's go. One at a time.
Be concise.
The reason why I feel you can't find the DOB violation is because there's no address and DOB can't find it, so they don't go there and violate it because they're like, there's no building, there's no business, there's no nothing. And then they're like, no problem found, because there's, like I said, there's ponding and all of that stuff, broken sidewalk. You can't even.
You want to ask them about? but
Also,
Yeah.
as far as the fence, as far as the fencing, even though the fencing was there prior to them
Mhm.
purchasing it, if you have a house and you want to put a fence, my understanding, you got to get a permit to go put a fence.
Mhm.
So somebody went and put a fence with no permit. They just said, "Oh, I'm blocking this off. This is mine," and the city has totally ignored it for all these years. And whoever has been of the owner of that land has ignored this stuff for years.
right, but what I think, I'm sorry, can you, I'm sorry, I have a comment about that, but can you ask Mr. LaBelle about the sidewalk and what they're planning to do with the ponding and all of that? Because maybe they have a plan.
Sure. So just to briefly summarize, the first thing is that this is block 4140, lots 1, 9, 7, and 6. And those lots have addresses, they have tax lot identities, they've been repeatedly subject to DOB action. So there's been inspections of those sites, but they've just either haven't been issued any violations or any violations that were issued were cleared. So it's not the case that DOB doesn't inspect or doesn't have an address to inspect. In fact, DOB has conducted repeated inspections over the years, and they just don't have any open violations because they've kept the property in decent condition. The
Okay,
second
so
thing with
let's-
regard- yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
The second thing with regards to the fencing, you know, there's a provision in the law called adverse possession, which you may have heard of, which basically dictates that to the extent that there is some sort of entitlement on property, if there's some sort of encroachment, et cetera, to the extent that the owner maintains it in good faith for a period of 20 years, they basically take adverse possession of that, you know, of that encroachment. Here, the fences predated the guys who purchased the property in 2021. So any adverse possession has been met by having this fence there for 20 years. But that's not really the point. The point right now on a going forward basis is they want to make right in terms of ownership of the site. They want to be responsible for the site, which is why they're bringing this application at the current time. They didn't do anything to the fence because the fence preceded their ownership.
If you're worried about the adverse
Hold on,
possession,
hold on.
that fence is there to show that, right? If you're gonna make an adverse possession claim, then you have to demonstrate that you were openly using that
Correct.
space, right? So that if you wanted to make that claim, you're able to do it.
I'm gonna pause everybody here. Jeremy, any other speakers for the public hearing before I go into the comments? Run the robin.
Yeah, because I don't think you guys.
I know, but if there's a
understand.
list, hold on, guys. If there's a list, let's go by the list and I can open it up.
I think
wanna
we
be
just
a
need to
friend.
clarify, he just said they purchased it in 2021
Or
early.
2001.
He just-
2001.
Yeah, I just want clarification on that.
Yeah,
He said
2001.
2021, so I just wanted to make sure it's
2001.
2000.
Yes, 24 years.
Hold on,
Jeremy.
It's okay, it's okay.
Oh, there's a list, let Jeremy go with the list first and then you can go talk. Hold on 1 second. Jeremy.
Jeremy,
I know, but I don't want to skip anybody on this list.
There's no one else.
Someone in the chat.
yeah, but did anybody, did you
Oh.
register?
Yeah.
Well,
Registered.
So Carmen, you ready?
I see anyone having.
She's about something else. She's not about the demapping.
Okay,
Wait, how does she know that?
Hello.
We're only here for the demapping.
You only here for the
What else
mapping.
is there? Hold on, Carmen.
In the gallery.
There's-
She's here for a street activity permit.
No, we're not gonna talk
I'm
about that.
sorry, but I
But
got
we
Carmen
spoke,
Aponte
we
is
spoke,
next.
we spoke.
Let's listen to that.
Carmen,
Yes.
are you here about the demapping?
No, I am not.
And you're gonna be paused until the end, okay?
No problem. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Now, we're gonna open it up to questions regarding demapping, 2 minutes apiece. Or you wanna go ahead?
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is explain to
No,
you.
Rich, you have a member of the public, it's a board member, but they have their hand raised.
Oh, right.
Ryan,
Okay,
He had his hand raised earlier, but he put it down.
okay. Ryan, you wanna talk?
Yeah, please.
Go ahead.
Deb really made the point that I wanted to make, but I'll restate it again. They've been using this property they purchased I'm looked up the two lots, two 2,500 square foot lots in 2000 for about $630,000. This space that they've been using in those 20 years is the same size as these two lots that they paid over $600,000 for, and they've been using that at the expense of the public, which the public was unaware that they had a right to it because it had been fenced off. But the purchaser either knew or should have known that that was public space because they were buying two 2,500 square foot lots and then they got this big 5,000 square foot lot in between. So I don't have any problem with the demapping. The road's not needed. It's not being used.
30
But
seconds.
I agree with Deb that we should not be in the business of rewarding someone who is doing something that is out of the public interest. They're taking public space away for their own private business use, and now they're trying to legitimize it, presumably to be able to sell a more valuable piece of property later. And I don't think we should support that.
Thank you, Ryan. Hold on. Who's, Aurora, you're next, right?
Oral wanted to explain basically,
I know.
I think Oral wanted to simplify the whole
Yeah,
situation.
please, if you.
So you gotta understand, because I do this for a living. And so what's happening is that they have one piece of property here, right? Let's see, and another piece of property here.
Let's do this.
And
We have 1, 2, 3, 4 lots.
4 lots. And what happened is, so this is the train station. The street right here, this is the street,
Right.
and they can't go any further.
I get that.
So this is really not a usable street at all,
Except for
Because-
parking.
except for parking. If you wanted to park in there, so what happens is that because they have these lots here, and someone fenced it off because I guess it protects these lots here. So someone fenced it off to protect access into here from someone off the street who doesn't go.
All we know is someone.
Let me finish.
fenced it off.
Can I finish it?
Yeah.
So someone fences off,
Mhm.
so someone couldn't get access into these lots, whoever did it. So what they're trying to do now is what's been done in a lot of different boroughs. Like in front of your house, like if a street went into your house, like an easement, you wouldn't want to buy that street because it's not being used. So you can actually purchase, the city allows you to purchase an egress street that goes through your property that no one uses. In fact, you can do that in your own personal property if you were on that lot. There's a few people that I know that have that issue. It's an easement that was at one point planned to go through, but something happened. A train station was here, and now they have this easement here or throughway that they can't use, that no one really uses. So sometimes the owner goes to the city and says, can I purchase this and add it to my property? So Ryan is correct.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to do is make this one, it's called a lot merger. So they're trying to merger these lots into one huge lot, which you're right, in the future, it becomes more valuable now because now they're able to use this whole lot, more square footage, and build a certain size building on that lot.
Right.
He was saying that, but now you understand. You see the picture that, but the sidewalk being in the shambles has nothing to do.
No, that's just, she's not saying that for that. purpose.
Even if the street was shambles, it really has nothing to do with the owner owning these properties because it's not being used.
Well, but it's not being used because they put a
Right,
fence in front of it.
exactly.
So if it was. Look, I'm sort of like Ryan, like sort of in defense about it, but it's a little bit disingenuous to say, well, you know, the street is not being used and it's not a thorough street because there's a railroad thing on top of it. It's not being used because you're not allowing it to be used.
Right.
Now, I get
Used
that.
for what? Parking?
For parking or what the fuck, like for whatever reason, right? It's not yours, so for whatever reason. But also, is the city's street, right?
Yes.
So if the city really, really, truly wanted to, you know, preserve their right to this piece of land, they probably should have told these people to put down the fence 20 years ago or 30 years ago, whenever the fence was erected. So yes, they're taking advantage of a situation, but it's a situation that they were allowed to take advantage of.
Yeah, they can. You can do that. You can.
No, you can do, I understand the law
It's
part.
not about purchase.
100%. I know what he means by adverse possession. I understand how their lot is now going to double, right? Which is what Ryan is saying and how they're going to make money of it. I get all of that.
Okay.
I appreciate that you mapped it out for us and everything.
But they purchasing this from the city, they buying this.
Not
from us.
yet, not yet, not yet.
Yeah.
I think the next move is actually gonna be for him to go to court and say, well, this is ours because we've been occupying it for 20 years.
No, can I just, I just add?
Go ahead, Mr. Lobo.
Yeah, so there's no intention of doing that. And
Okay.
just to
Can't
add two
do that.
things. Number one is, we talk about the duration of time they've had the lot. In all fairness, they've been now in this, this demapping application due to the complexity, city attorneys and city planning, as well as topo division of the Borough President's Office. This has been going on for close to 7 years. So the
Okay.
guys unbelievably started this project in 2018. And the second thing to note is that it's all at their cost and expense. There's no guarantee they're even going to get this lot. The city makes them demap it and then engages in this potential transaction with them. The city right now could turn around and say, we don't even want to use it. We don't even want you guys to have use of it. And they're still on the hook for the time and cost of the demapping. But again, these are guys who just kind of want to have a contiguous lot. And if anything, it enables them to make sure to maintain the lot, because at that point it would be, potentially in their possession, and they would make sure to make sure it stayed, well operated. So, again, I just want to be clear, there's no intention of making a claim on the lot in adverse possession. In fact, had they done that, they probably could have, done that years ago, but instead they've really done their best to maintain this application and would have to pay the city for the lot area and for the land, at which point the city, there's appraisals, but the city can set the price. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
What's the appraisal on the property?
Oh,
think they
we
don't
don't,
have it.
Not
the
yet,
city
they have to
basically, the city conducts those appraisals within
That's-
6
yeah,
months of
that's
the.
not-
Next.
And I feel, I'm sorry.
Is this gonna be
my last thing?
so this will be 2 minutes?
This
Yes,
is
no,
my-
you don't get too much, you got one, go.
I promise. I think the question for us is, how would it impact the community?
No,
And
no.
because everything else is really the city's problem in terms of the ownership and the price and all that stuff. And that's it.
I got a question.
You did ask.
This
could be a
property,
problem. You asked.
it's not gonna create a problem because I'm from the old school. That fence has been there, for how long the fence has been there?
20 years.
Exactly, so it hasn't been bothering nobody for 18 years.
Right.
They wanna do right now by purchasing the property, so why are we having this conversation? It's a no-brainer right now.
City is
The
different.
fence is there, nobody's using it, nobody's going inside.
Nobody can.
But what are they gonna go in there for? What's the purpose? He said there's no throughway. What's the purpose of them going in there for?
But you block off Westchester Square. You know how hard it is to find parking in Westchester Square?
It's hard to find parking everywhere, Debbie.
Okay then, why can't that be
This
a
man
part of
wants
parking?
he wants to do right.
So Veronica wants to go 2 minutes. Go ahead.
It's all about.
Hold on. One, you promised me.
I promise.
My only concern is, one, yes, it could have been used for parking all these years for the community. But also, what happens once they actually purchase this property and they now have a huge lot that can be sold for whatever
Yes.
purposes people want?
But-
That will affect the community if it's something
You're
that's.
buying it though, in an arm's length transaction with the city.
Yes, but once they buy it, they can sell it
She's right.
to anybody that they want, and then what happens then if they're
But that's
bringing in
true of
something
anybody
that's
that
going
buys
to
it.
affect it?
Thank you.
Right, but at this point, they don't have a huge lot
No, I
to do that
understand
with.
that, but
They have that border right there that prevents them from selling it as a huge lot.
Right, but this-
That in
Maximum
effect
desirable.
would
Maximum
affect,
desirable.
right.
But if
depending
you-
on what it
if-
is.
If you had a neighbor next door to you that wanted to sell you their house or their property for a low price or whatever it was, for any price, and you were willing to buy it with the intention of then flipping it, should you be punished for that?
No.
No, I'm just saying, you're saying there's no effect to the community. There's a potential effect to the community.
I think, yeah.
Should be
Voting purposes,
considered.
that's a
In
consider.
terms of what? In terms of them building something that.
Yeah, some monstrosity.
What can they possibly?
Yeah.
It's zoned for manufacturing,
Yeah,
just to.
going for
Yeah.
manufacturing, so they can do manufacture whatever they want. They're not gonna do a betting, a casino, nothing like that, nothing.
I get it.
They
Uh,
can make a
so-
building there.
Two things.
Don't give them my.
Hold on,
Okay, hold on.
Jenny, Jeanette's next, okay, asked, and then Wendy. So go ahead, Jeanette.
Okay, what I was going to say is, from what I've heard so far, granted that no one kicked up a fuss and the fence has been there for years, but sometimes people don't know what their rights are. So I'm going to take that out of the equation because maybe the community didn't realize they had the right to protest that, to have access to what was public property. That was number one. Number two, listen, in this country, we've had people in ignorance for a century. So 18 years is nothing.
Nothing.
Pardon my opinion. The second thing is, I hear that they're willing to pay all these different things to make this happen, and what I'm looking at is that's a really smart investment, because if this goes through, then they have a better piece of property, which basically either brings them more money in the immediate, or if they sell it, definitely more money, because now they own the
Bigger lot.
entire piece. I do not have a car, but as someone who constantly is confronted with, when I am in a car, where they're going to park it, I agree that parking is an issue. And at the very least, that strip could provide more parking. And the final thing is, I absolutely agree that if this is approved, once it's theirs, they can do
That's what they want.
they want with it, which means we might be back here revisiting another situation. That is all I wanted to add.
He's a little slate.
Oh, no, because Wendy's next. Wendy, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate that. Listen, yes, they can do what they want with it once they own it, but you have to also remember that the city can do what they want. So the city can decide, depending on whatever administration it is, the city can decide to RFP it or to ask if anyone is interested in it and put it out there on their own. They can do whatever they want. So it's either or. What I ask is that we take a vote. You write down, let's do a formal letter, present it to them of what we don't want to see. Have them look at it, sign off on it to say that they agree with it. And that's for the record. I mean, 10 years from now, somebody may have amnesia and say, oh, I forgot about it. I didn't, I don't know anything about a letter. We will have a letter on file. The back and forth for this particular site is just, you're not going to have any control over it either way.
Wait, if we're going to get another, or some future community board is gonna get another bite of the apple, depending on what it is that they're trying to build, why are we concerned about that? Let those people decide that, right?
Any other comments?
I mean, we're here to be concerned about.
But we're not ifing.
I think I'm-
Hold on, let's
so,
just
hold on.
Let the just speak.
Before we vote, I think I'm gonna ask the question that a lot of people have been asking is, what is, the person owns the entire lot. If it's voted in, fine. So this person ends up owning the entire lot and decides that, and I think this is the concern for a lot of people, is that the person then decides that they're going to apply for a zoning change, which I know you said can't be done, but I'm just articulating the concern. That they decide to apply for a zoning change where now it's no longer an M1 am I picking up what, okay. So that's the question, like,
That's zoning, which is very different.
What's their intention?
right, what is the intent, I guess, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Hold
I'm
on.
happy to.
Hold on, Wendy,
Happy to
hold on.
address them. Happy to address them. So again, what you've got right now is they've got a 3,000 square foot lot. There's an intervening 5,000 square foot city lot, and then they've got about 10,000 square feet of lot area. So right now, you know, if they wanted to put up an M11, first of all, the M11 is widely recognized as being one of the worst zoning districts in the city. Low floor area ratio of 1, no residential uses, high parking requirement, which is why what you see is what you get when you drive in the area. You see a lot of open parking, low, one-story manufacturing, warehousing, etc. So the guys, I mean, basically, to the extent that they ever wanted to do anything, develop the lot, put up a commercial store or anything like that, this intervening 5,000 square foot lot would really impact their ability to do that. They have no present intention of developing anything. There's no plans, nor do you submit plans to the city for something like this, because at the end of the day, you may not own the lot. The city has not sold it to them yet. This just enables the city to be able to do it. Whatever's going to be built there would have to conform to M11 zoning. So number one is, we have no plans for the lot because frankly, we don't own it yet. And the zoning right now would basically lead it to be commercial use. It would be, a small commercial use. And to the extent in the future that, and again, I think the guys have been burned long enough with a 7-year application. If in the future they wanted to rezone the property, and it's what my office does all the time, you're back in front of the City Planning Commission, the community board, the Bronx Borough president, the council member, and you're at that time requesting a change in use as to what you can do. But I will just say one thing, and then I don't know if Joe wants to add anything, that's fine, which is that I think, the comments earlier about the fact that even if these guys don't get this lot and the city, I think as Wendy may have mentioned, city RFPs it, somebody's going to basically have the opportunity to do something, on a 5,000 square foot lot, which may not even be the greatest use. And if it's the city who owns it, they're allowed to waive zoning provisions and they can basically waive parking and put in like whatever use that they want to put in. So it's like this at least puts it in the hands of a private applicant who, if they did want to make any changes, would be back in the same Euler process. Joe, I don't know if you had anything to add.
I think we're ready. Thank you, Mr. Lobo. We're gonna close discussion. I'm gonna motion a vote.
Rich, do we not want to hear from the gallery?
Oh, yeah. Anyone from the gallery who's not a board member want to say a few things about the demapping and only demapping?
Okay.
Going once, going twice? Sold. All right, I'm gonna move to vote. Anyone second?
What's the motion?
A motion to approve the demapping of the St. Raymond Avenue Street.
Second.
All right, so anyone,
So-
any discussion?
Is it like vote no objection?
Yeah, so
Because we don't know-
if you approve of the demapping, you
Say
vote yes.
Yes.
If you don't approve of the
You vote
demapping,
no.
you say no.
Correct.
And if you're still confused.
You vote, you
Abstain.
abstain. Yes.
Some people.
Yeah, if there's no discussion, okay, hearing none, we're gonna go, anyone approve, motion,
You guys want to have more
no,
discussion?
hold on.
That's a good.
Anyone approve?
One more discussion.
No.
No, I have to do that.
Say,
You guys-
so the motion is to approve the demapping of the St. Raymond's Avenue
Correct.
Street.
You guys understand what that means, right?
Yeah.
It's just like way too. Okay.
So it's a yay or nay? So
Yeah, but
all
first
those in,
Nay, remember we do nay.
yeah, no, it's a.
Yes, they get the property, no, they don't get. the
Correct, so anyone opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, 1, 2,
Sandy? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
Monica, Debbie, Sandy.
okay, okay. Anyone abstaining? Abstentions? Oral?
Well, it's a city.
No, it's not.
I'm just kidding, I'm messing with you.
I don't have.
All right, so
Why are you yelling at me? I didn't.
because you mostly abstain.
I
I know, I'm just messing with you. So everyone else is in favor, right? In favor, say aye. Aye, hands up. Okay,
Wendy, Stacy?
Wendy,
Five,
Stacy.
5, 6.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Pass.
6,
Good pass.
7. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr.
Thank
Lobo, Mr. Galito Jr.
Thank you to
So-
the community board. Thank you to the
Thank
community.
you, everyone.
Do you need a letter, Mr. Lobo?
I'll take care of it, Rich. I know the process.
Okay,
All
thanks,
right,
Jeremy.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
There's a gallery session here.
You just called for the gallery.
Well, only for the.
Yeah.
Here, so now we can open it
Now we're
up.
talking
for-
about something else now.
Now we're going to Carmen.
Okay.
Let's go to Carmen now.
Carmen, so it's your time to shine.
2 minutes.
Hello, so I'm a childcare provider. This is my first time. I'm trying to do an event for like the kids in the community. I really don't know the process, so I got to meet Diana because of one of my neighbors in the building, and she said they did a block party before many years ago, maybe about 5 years ago. Let me see. I'm a little nervous. This is my first time doing it. I already went to the precinct. I filled out some forms. I was told I need to speak to, the community board and get some, so I would like to know some information. You guys could help me, guide me.
Yeah, sure thing. We
Monica.
have our friend Jeremy here. He can guide you all the way.
When is the event?
When is your event?
Okay, so first I was gonna like try to close, I have a parking lot. I was gonna ask the old folks home to rent the space out last year. I had a death in the family, I couldn't do it. So then this year when I brought it up to the parents and my neighbors, like everybody wanted to join, like help out, give something, be a part of it. So I'm thinking about closing the street. I wanna give out book bags. I'm trying to have a bouncy house. I'm trying to give the kids like ices.
Carmen,
And
when
just
is
like
this? When are you trying to do this?
August 15.
Oh,
Yes.
that-
No,
and why is that? Why can't, so,
Is it too late?
It's way too late.
why? But why?
You
But
need
why?
90 days.
Okay, so per the rules, you need 90 days, Carmen, to throw an
Oh,
event.
but I spoke to the precinct since beginning of May.
30
That's why
seconds.
I spoke.
You know what? So let's do this, because either way, you're gonna, Jeremy, can you contact Carmen and point her in the right direction in terms of next steps?
I think the first question I would have is, did she actually submit with downtown, the street activity
that's my
permit office?
Yeah, I mean, did you, Carmen?
No, I submitted online. When I went to the precinct, they gave me like the online information. I filled everything out, and today I was at the precinct, and she just told me the few things I was missing, and she told me should be fine.
Yeah, so I think either, go ahead, Chris, go ahead, Chris.
Since, Diane called me and this lady has put it in by the end of June, I think I saw it. So usually it needs about 60 days with us, but since the transportation didn't have a meeting, I thought she should come here at leadership. And at leadership, you guys can vote instead of the transportation of the full board. First, second, I explained to Diane that I can tell her she can get to our website, and under the guidelines and forms and guidelines in our website, it's self-explanatory what exactly we can do about it. But also, I told Diane, excuse me, that if this lady shows up, and actually she showed up today, I'm going to mention, based on what I'm looking at the agency, because I'm into the system. Besides the fact, because everything depends, whatever she put it into the application. It says here, first of all, if she's going to have any barbecue, which is called there will be open flame. If there will be open flame that she probably checked up, she has to get a permit from fire department. Second, if she's going to have food, which says food or beverages will be sold and or distributed at the event, she has to get a temporary food service establishment permit from Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. She can get that from DCA.
Yes.
Third, if there will be soliciting for services, products, charities, etc., collecting signatures, selling tickets, collecting funds, she need a permit to solicit funds by HRA. If there will be an open hydrant, which she checked it up, because all these points that I'm mentioning, it happens when a person that fills up an application with street activity permits, checks all these parts, all of them need in particular to get permits. Like the fourth one is that if you're gonna have the hydrant or you're gonna put some water kind of thing of their cap, she has to
Sorry
get a
for
permit.
interrupt. Yeah, the cap, I spoke to the fire department also. They told me just call them the night before and they have no problem bringing it into.
But
Like I
it
said,
says here that you need a permit from Department of Environmental Protection, DEP.
okay.
And if you're gonna have any inflatables,
No, I
you're gonna
wouldn't.
get,
Oh.
you're gonna get a certificate of compliance with Department of Buildings. So all this has nothing to do with us. All
Yeah.
this has to do with Street Activity Permits Office.
So all that stuff has to be done before it even comes here.
Right.
No,
have
I
a
mean,
question.
us, it's whatever is required, which is written in our, what's it called? In our forms and guidelines.
Okay, so
This is the first time for her.
Yeah, so first time for her, that's a problem. Veronica had a comment. Agree.
So Chris and Carmen, I don't know if you've done this already, but Chris, don't they need to have a petition signed by the
That's what I already
surrounding
said,
people?
that didn't let me
I don't
continue.
I don't have a problem with getting the petition signed. Also, I spoke to a lot of over 100 people because I have, I'm a childcare provider. So as I tell you, I'm really involved with the community. And at least 4 of the buildings
right, we don't
are excited, happy, and are willing to, and I invited her, telling them that this is what I'm trying to do. So with the signatures, I wouldn't have a problem.
Chris,
So at the end of the day,
Don't they call the office and have a conversation?
yeah, but let me just state one quick.
Yeah,
thing.
Veronica.
At the end of the day, she doesn't have everything she would need for us to be able to
That's what I'm
vote here.
saying.
tonight.
That's what I'm saying.
If that's the case, we can't do anything
Yes.
for her at this point because we don't have everything that we need to
Right.
be able to make a decision on it.
So, yeah, so her point, Carmen, you would need a bunch of stuff approved or ready to go before you come here usually. So we appreciate you coming, but you need to get a lot of paperwork ready, approved, before you come to us. So that's a problem.
No,
So
but
maybe
guys,
on the
guys,
back.
don't get confused. We have nothing whatsoever to do with that.
No? Okay.
Our part deals only with that 55% of signatures
Right,
in
the
the block.
petition, you don't have it. She
That's
has
about
it.
it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what she needs from us. Whatever she can fulfill with street activity permits, that's gonna be street activity permits.
Yeah.
If she doesn't fulfill all these permits, the street activity permits will deny her. Our part is only to see the 55%
Right.
of signatures on the block.
That's it.
And another thing I can tell her, ma'am, just in
Yes.
case, you need a 1-day insurance. And it has to
Okay.
be a big one.
All right,
Reason-
Chris, can you have this conversation with the office or something like that? Can reach out to you?
This really should be offline.
What I wanted to know, if I could
Yes.
say
Go
something.
ahead.
Do we have a checklist? Say someone else comes in and says they want a street permit, et cetera.
Yeah, it's online. It's on the website.
Do we have it
on the website?
On our website,
It's
yeah.
not, okay, that's all I wanted.
Comment.
So then she should have used that.
Can you reach out to the community board office and tell you exactly what you need before it comes to us?
Yes, I have, okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
All right, Diana?
If you muted
Yes,
her.
hi, thanks. So Carmen was put in touch with me by a BPECA member, and I think that unfortunately she got kind of incomplete information from, I think, the precinct, who showed her, she went there first, and they showed her the application online for the permit, which she filled out, paid back June 6th, but then nobody ever went over with her, as a first timer, all of these other things that are needed. And I'm not quite clear about how the permit application, if she ever got any response to it or how that works exactly. And she only found out today, this afternoon, because I asked Chris what she needs to do, that she needed to be here tonight, and it's the last meeting before her block party. So I think that this just all points up that, maybe next year in March or April, we could do a very well advertised, the community board could do a very well advertised session on, do you want to give a block party? Here's what you need to know. Because it's been so hard to find out all of this.
Chris, let her
stuff.
finish. Chris, let her finish.
Have it online.
It's not all online.
30 seconds.
It's not all online. A lot of it is on the website, but I didn't even know it was there on the website. So,
Diana.
I just think, be nice to her, please.
No, we tried.
Trying to do the nice thing, the
I
right
just think
thing.
it was late in the game to ask for this, but I think moving forward, if you can connect with Chris and Jeremy about next steps, we're not, we're 100% clear what's going on. It's
I have
not.
a-
That's it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, but I'd rather you ask Chris a question. And
Okay,
Jeremy.
no
Yeah.
problem. Okay.
Carmen, I got a question. Where's this location at?
Oliveville between Allenton and Mace,
Okay, got it.
Oliveville Avenue.
All right.
It's just
Um,
something for the kids, you know, for the community. try to-
Understood, yes.
No, I think it's great, Carmen, but go to talk to Chris and Jeremy and help
Yes.
and let them walk you through what needs to be done.
Okay, moving on, any other, gallery speakers? Going once, going twice, sold, all right, I'm gonna,
Sideways.
no motions, we did our motion already, right? Old business, no old business, new business, enjoy the rest of your summer, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn,
Hold on, guys. Don't rush.
What are we holding?
what? So,
You said new business. We have new business. Hold on. Where you rushing?
what new business,
What is it then?
what new business do we have?
We don't know of it. What is it?
It has to do with liquor licenses that you guys, if you don't do it, then it's gonna go under the rug.
To be very honest, I'm not voting for liquor
No,
licenses
no,
today.
second to
I'm
adjourn.
sorry.
No.
I don't even have any information on it.
When, yeah,
When was this information given?
no.
It was sent to the committee. It was sent to the committee end of June.
The committee.
To my committee?
Committee.
Yes.
Economic development is talking about.
We're not talking about
That what?
I don't
Two liquor
know.
licenses.
Cindy.
One is the one that is a repeat. Then
So,
we try again.
let me, I'm just gonna, hold on. Let me just say this.
All right, right,
We don't have that information in front of us. We cannot make educated vote
Chris,
on it.
that's Jeremy. Jeremy's saying something. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Jeremy, do you have anything to add? Because I'm gonna motion to adjourn.
Not about, I mean, look, we don't have to make a recommendation if you don't want to make a recommendation.
We just
but
don't have
when it
any
comes to-
information.
Well, I mean, it was given to the committee, but that's on the committee.
What committee is that?
No, but then
Economic development.
leadership or economic development?
Wait, but after
Yeah.
last meeting?
Was it given to economic development after we had already had our June meeting? And if that's the case, it should have been brought to leadership and should have been put on the agenda.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Chris sent it on, and it's ultimately up to you
No,
guys.
it was
to decide.
Harriet. Harriet sent it at the very end of last month. So that's why we didn't have a chance. That's why I brought it up.
Right, after
After we had our
the
meeting.
board meeting?
The board meeting was June 30th. It was the end of June.
Yes.
Well, how about this?
So
When
that's
you-
why it was brought here at leadership.
No, I know, but normally we have all that information in front of us.
And on the agenda.
Yeah, so let me try to cut to the quick. Is there any, do you see any concerns, Chris, with any of these establishments?
Yes, I do.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not
Yes, I
doing that.
do.
I'm
All
not
right,
doing
so
that.
then how about Juan and Veronica review the information?
You're not gonna do that right now.
No,
You're
no,
not
we're
gonna,
not doing
you're not
this.
gonna go over our heads. You're not gonna go over our heads. We're not voting on it because we don't have the
Okay.
information in front of us, not because
Okay.
those were sent late. So sorry,
first of
guys.
All right,
Talk-
can I say something then?
Let me finish, Jeremy. We
Okay.
don't have the information. We can't make an educated guess or vote.
Yes, you can make an educated guess because you
We
already
don't
voted no
want to.
before.
We don't
for
want
one of
to.
them.
We don't want to. We don't want to. All right? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Anyone opposed?
I think
Okay.
Jeremy has something other than the economic.
Yes, and please don't, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not being disrespectful here. If you view it that way, please don't treat it that way. I'm not trying to talk over anybody. I'm not trying to force anything upon you. I just want to talk about the shirts we received. Can I do that?
Sick of that. You were
We're not
talking
gonna talk that open with the gallery.
The liquor license.
I'm just trying to help you guys move along. That's
Hold
all I'm
on.
trying to do.
This is Harriet, Jeremy.
I thought you were talking about, what is it?
Economic development and public.
Yeah, what I was suggesting with the liquor license is Juan and Veronica review the information. If they have concerns, we deal with it then. That's it.
We're not gonna talk.
Jeremy, can we talk about the shirts offline?
Now you
We're all here right now. Try your shirt on. If you have an issue with
No,
it, let us know.
offline.
All right, fine. I'm out. Bye.
I'm not doing this no more.
Jeremy, the only,
I'm in the next
Then
one.
I-
I'm not coming for shirts and I'm not coming for liquor licenses.
You're being recorded, just really.
Jeremy, the only issue I have is still there.
He left.
He left.
Meeting is adjourned.
Meeting's adjourned.
Mute.